Welcome back to the 9th episode of American Conspiracies, and this week I'll be discussing the classic case of a cryptid known none other than Mothman. Now, before discussing Mothman, it's important to inform you about what exactly a cryptid is. By definition, a cryptid is an animal that is claimed to exist but never actually proven to exist. Therefore, the study and search of these animals, usually in order to evaluate the possibility of their existence, is known as cryptozoology. People who study such things are known as cryptozoologists. Now, in November of 1966, West Virginia had begun reporting cases of the Mothman. The first of many sightings was to come from a group of grave diggers who reported seeing a large brown man-like creature quickly dashing from tree to tree before eventually flying away. A few days had passed before eventually Mothman had once again returned, this time in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. It was reported that Mothman was sighted by a group of two couples who were taking a drive when the two girls spotted something in the distance moving around in the brush. They peered intensely at the figure and took the details of its appearance into account. They described what they saw as a tall figure with no definite head or arms, massive wings upon his back, and beating red eyes. The group then claims that when speeding away after freaking out, the creature started to fly after their vehicle at speeds of around 100 miles an hour. When they finally arrived back at town, the beast landed and waddled away into the woods. Now, this story may seem very unconvincing and vague at first, but it's more interesting than that. The girls wanted to report what they saw to the local authorities, but decided against it. They wanted to go back to where they came from with their boyfriends and verify if what they saw was actually real. And sure enough, when they went back, they saw the same creature stumbling around in an open nearby area. It was at this time that they realized that none of them were crazy. They reported to the local authorities and the local papers soon after, but no one really believed them all that much. One of the boyfriends told a local paper, and I quote, "If I had seen it while I was by myself, I wouldn't have said anything, but there were 4 of us who saw it." This was the first of many sightings to come out of Point Pleasant regarding the Mothman incident, and if you think that was absurd, then just hang on a second. Because at the start of the rumors, many people were skeptical about what the papers published and the actual credibility of the couples involved. But over the upcoming months, this town saw an uptick of sightings. No matter the circumstance or the story told about those who have claimed to have seen Mothman, they are all very consistent in describing its physical appearance. A large figure with red beady eyes and an enormous wingspan. Interesting, right? Even those that did not believe in the beast became believers after the alleged encounters. Even firefighters reported seeing such things. The claims that the creature is responsible for the disappearance of a beloved dog. Another woman claims that Mothman tried to steal her baby and she had to fight with it. And some people even claim that Mothman was responsible for a local bridge collapse in 1967 that killed 47 people. Now, the name Mothman wasn't developed immediately after a recorded sighting. It became a thing after a newspaper editor found the creature's description similar to that of a moth and put a spin on the Batman name, coming up with Mothman. The name Mothman and his tales have become very important to Point Pleasant, believe it or not. They have a yearly Mothman festival, commemorative merchandise, food, and a town statue, and most locals do believe in him in some sort of way, whether it be through an encounter or knowing a person who has encountered it. The Mothman statue can be found in this town, and it is a rather impressive sight. According to Roadside America, the statue has upper and lower fangs, a hairy chest with a six-pack, clawed hands and feet, and ghastly wings that rise 13 feet high. It also has red ruby eyes that reflect in the moonlight or sunlight. Now, with all the stories, descriptions, and other things in consideration, is Mothman actually real? Good question, but once again, we'll most likely never know. Mothman hasn't really been seen for a while now, and people don't really care about him anymore, unfortunately. But if Mothman is not a man-moth-human hybrid, then what could he be? Well, that's another good question, because I actually have an answer for that. 1. The Mothman sightings in 1966 may have all been sightings of a large sandhill crane. These birds can grow to impressive heights with great wingspans and also feature red areas around their eyes, which may explain why many people describe large reflective eyes. Since most sightings were in the dark, when a person pointed a light at their face or eyes, it must have glown up. Another possible explanation to the Mothman sightings is that so many people were convinced that Mothman was around that they just saw a large animal with big wings and automatically assumed, it's Mothman, without considering local species that may have been what they saw. Whatever the case may be, Mothman is definitely an interesting story that always gets you thinking about the possibilities of what if. One of the best things about cryptid creatures is that you get to decide whether or not you believe in them. But that's all I have for you today. Thank you for tuning in to the 9th episode of American Conspiracies, and make sure you leave a comment on what you think about the Mothman case. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Follow the official American Conspiracies Instagram for exclusive content and episode updates, linked in the description down below. And don't forget to join me next week when I discuss yet another topic.